Oh, hi there. Cello. Hey now. Hola. And ba weep grana weep ninny bong. However you want to say it. Welcome to that Kev1 show. They say the journey is the destination. Well, my next guest has a definitive opinion on that. Please welcome filmmaker, writer, and creator and executive producer of the Final Destination film universe, one of your favorite horror authors, Jeffrey Reddick. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
Phantasmic. Now that this part of the West Coast is thawed out, I was iced in here for about a week.
Oh yeah, no, we got rain on this coast, but we don't get snow, so I can't complain too much when it's like,
Oh,
oh yeah, you guys got some that snowed in. I'm like, oh yeah, well it rained us in my apartment. Like I can't leave my, yeah, it's not safe. So I'm glad you guys thawed out.
oh. Well, how safe is it to say, like, not to disclose your exact, triangulate your location, but like you're in Hollywood, right? Or are you in like?
Oh yeah, West Hollywood.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I lived there for a little while. It was funny because coming from Portland when I lived there, like, it was kind of romantic when it rained. Like, oh yeah, nostalgic. Yeah, wow, yeah, I made it, Portland boy, and brought the rain. And but then I'd drive anywhere and it'd be like really light rain, but no people would be driving in such slow motion. It's like their cars were
Oh my god,
moonwalking. I'm like,
yes.
what the hell,
No,
guys?
that's the problem. It's like people here when it's raining, you would think it's like a blizzard if you're anywhere else because it's like people just don't know how to drive and even drizzle. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
it's barely raining. Come on, it's not that bad. Um, but yeah, that's exactly my complaint. It's like LA drivers act like with rain, they're like, we don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah. It's super sunny here in Portland again, so I'm happy for that. And oh, speaking of roads, one of like the most famous scenes from the franchise you're most known for at this point in your career, from Final Destination 2, the freeway log truck moment with the pile up and the logs flying at you, that lives like rent free in so many viewers' minds to this day. And with social media even like playing it back and forth, like on TikTok, I'm noticing that like people making jokes about it. Is that the scene that gets mentioned the most to you? Would you say?
Um, Definitely, and I have to, I'm actually very proud of that scene. I mean, first of all, kudos to all the people who've been involved in all the movies, and not even kudos, but so much appreciation for James Wan and Glenn Morgan on the first film, and David Ellis and Eric Press and Jake Mackie Gruber on the second film, the writers and directors, and um, Craig Perry, who's the producer as well. But I know for the second film, I had a story that I sold to the studio. But I know when I was working with Craig on the opening, it was originally going to be a hotel fire. These
Oh,
kids going on spring break, and it was going to be a hotel fire. And Craig, to his credit, he's always pushing people to do better. And he's just like, oh, we got to come up with something punchier than that. And I was driving home to Kentucky, which is actually, I was flying home to Kentucky when I got inspired for the first film, but I was driving home in Kentucky to see my mom. My mom and I got behind one of those log trucks on the Bluegrass Mountain Parkway, and it hit me like, oh, fuck, this is the opening. So I pulled off and I called Craig, and uh, he was like, yes, that is the opening that we. And I have to, aside from the writers, it takes a village to make a movie, and
mm-hmm, yeah.
with that scene in particular, we had David Ellis directing the second movie, who's just a wonderful man who's not with us any longer,
Mm,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But he had a stunt background, so we knew like we didn't have to like write out massive details for that scene because he would come up with something better than we could think of just because
Oh,
he knew how to shoot it.
yeah.
And
Practically
so
minded and everything, knew how to realistically, yeah. Huh.
yeah, so he
Yeah.
nailed that scene so much. It's actually one of my favorite maybe top five openings of a horror movie. And I don't think it's because I'm biased.
No, no.
I think also just the way that David put it together is
Yeah.
so masterful. Like it's just a great. Like I love that scene.
I think, yeah, it almost just encompasses Final Destination, I would almost say. Like, a lot of people just almost just think of that scene, you know what I mean, like as the definitive moment for the series in a way. Like, that's Final Destination, you know what I mean? Like, I think people
Yeah,
even confuse that, they think it's the first movie. I'm like, that's the second one, right? Yeah, so,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, that was the second one. It was which is a lot of. Yeah, I still get the log truck. I'm tagged in something almost every other week about the log dog trucks, and just as a horror fan, it's cool,
Mm-hmm.
because I always say, like, if creator of the Final Destination film franchise is on my gravestone, like, I'm gonna that I will be happy with that, because just as growing up as a horror geek, to know something that started with you, and again had many amazing filmmakers work on it to bring it from conception of the idea to the screen, but just to know that it's had an impact is on the horror genre is who could ask for anything more.
Yeah, and you're still young, so I mean, you might do something else that's
Oh,
even just as
I've got
big, but
I've got some more things. I've got some more tricks
yeah.
some more bloody tricks up my sleeve.
Ooh, but I'm just saying,
That
like,
I'm very excited.
yeah, besides you still blowing up, like, but I mean, the Final Destination alone could put you on the Mount Rushmore of horror in a lot of people's opinions. But yeah, who knows what? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, like I've got some other stuff I'm excited about, but just very, very proud of the impact that and the fans, who kept the franchise alive. I mean, they're the sixth one's getting ready to start shooting.
That's wild.
Fairly,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's been like 13 years since the last one. So
Really? Wow. Time
yeah,
flies, cause like,
it does.
yeah, it seems like it's like 4 years or less. I would almost feel like, but oh wow.
I wish, because you start feeling old and people are like, yeah, I was 12 when that movie came.
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, but also screw you for
Yeah, no, yeah. Who was I talking to? I was talking to some guest, but we were talking about, like, I remember when I first, it was always just here in Portland, like with my Italian relatives, like a lot of the ladies in the family, where they'd say, you never ask a woman her age. And I remember my first Hollywood party, I was saying to someone, when I was in Hollywood, that, like, I was talking to someone, I don't even know how age came up, if it's just a question. He said, well, how old are you? And you could hear a pin drop out of nowhere, and the guy turned and was like, you never, it's probably more dramatically than it was, but you never ask an actor their age. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So, but yeah.
There's like ageism in the business, so people get
There
worried about
is,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
So it's a little different, but it's like if you didn't know Tom Cruise's age, him jumping off buildings, you might think he's in his late 40s, maybe. I mean, or something. But just the fact that math, and like, well, Top Gun had to be X many years ago, so it's like he wasn't 9.
Oh yeah, no,
but yeah.
It is funny. Yeah, people get weird about it, but yeah, it's like the first thing that pops up on my thing. It's like 54. It's like, all right.
You're like, can I change that?
I don't care. I actually don't mind, because my mom lived to be 97, so I'm just like, yeah, I'm halfway through life, so
yeah.
I've still got that one.
Oh, you never know. With
So.
science and everything, maybe way longer, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mr. Musk. I always forget if it's Elon or Elon, so I don't want to say it wrong.
Oh yeah.
But he's working on all this stuff, so maybe there'll be something that I can get where it's like, okay, I'm going to be 200. Well, we'll see. We'll see how things are going, if I want to be 200 or not. But I still have stories I want to tell. So.
I mean, I remember, like, I think it was like late high school or high school, as like when like everyone heard about Viagra and like hair transplants and Rogaines. I'm like, wow, I guess I'm covered in the future if that ever becomes a problem. And then and this and that, and you hear about these billionaires trying to change out their blood to be 18, and like, okay, and so it's like you never know.
I heard about this. The guy, it's as long as he's not harvesting the blood of like real. Well, I guess he is taking blood from real people, but not like a vampire.
Yeah.
As long as people don't get too crazy, what the heck?
Man.
But, that all comes from a fear of death, which is funny. That's such a fun thing to exploit with what we did with Final Destination. It's like, oh well, yeah, death is the killer. And I remember when we were trying to set it up, when Craig and I were trying to set it up at New Line, it was like such a battle, because we didn't have like a personification of death, and they're like, well, we don't understand how you can do this if you don't show something, because they've got to fight death. But so at the end of the day, like before we could officially sell it to New Line, like I had like an angel of death that I wrote in that showed up at the finale for them to fight. But thank goodness, James Long and Glenn Morgan came on board and did their version, which was the more Rube Goldberg take on death. Like they were like, we do not want to show death. And I'm like, I'm so glad that they caught that.
Exactly. That's part of the charm of it, is like this death being like this force, and you just never know. Like, is what's that fume in your car, or is the toaster being plugged in, by the frying oil, or yeah, it's kind of brilliant, really.
Yeah, but it's always after the fact when everybody's like, oh, that's awesome. But when you're trying to get somebody to finance a movie in a very risk-averse business, they're like, oh, this doesn't make sense to us. You can fight Jason or Freddy, but you can't fight death.
Yeah, it does get down to the numbers a bit. Like, how do we sell the figures? How do we sell the Pop Funko figures of Final Destination? Empty box.
Well, that I wasn't thinking. Yeah, that I wasn't. That's the only. That's the only gripe I have. It's like, oh yeah, that was a great idea to make that your killer, but yeah, you can't really have a toy line with death. So that was the only. I do want to have my killer action figure someday. That's the one. That's my bucket list item that I have to.
Oh yeah, I'm like a child of the late '80s, early '90s, so I was all about the kind of, I guess, that synergetic kind of universe that made sense and everything, and it's still at heart with He-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that. They were all back and forth selling each other. Do you have a certain franchise or a horror character in mind created by Jeffrey Reddick that they could
I have a couple actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have a couple actually. It's just a matter of when and if we get them made. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about a couple of things. I have a slasher franchise that I wrote that I'm excited about, and then I think that'll be my best bet. Obviously, I think slashers are kind of you can do it in the supernatural world as well, but I think slashers are kind of the best bet to get you a Halloween costume out there.
Yeah. Well, you've been on the list for a while, so like our patrons had a little more time than the average guest we have on to ask a couple questions. One was kind of piggybacking on what you're talking about with this angel of death that was invisible, kind of what we were just talking about. Did a lot of other horror film auteurs like thank you in a way, because it almost seems like It Follows and Countdown owed themselves to you and your Final Destination. Because it's kind of like they're kind of like the cousins of that. I think that's what they were getting at.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, because I do give James Long and Glenn Morgan credit for really fighting to make sure that death wasn't shown in the film. But I've never really. I've had people say, bring us something else like Final Destination. Or they'll say, but then they'll say that's too much like Final Destination. I think it definitely maybe opened the door a little bit, but I never like to think that anything that I've done unless somebody tells me it inspired them. It's funny, I never think of, that was, that inspired, they were inspired by my movie to do that. Like, no one's ever said that anything specifically, but I'm also I think with the way I think, I never think. The only thing that I know is I will say, like, that the bus crash scene, or Terry getting hit by the bus in the first Final Destination. After that movie came out, I noticed that shot happening a lot on in horror. Like, there was a night where they were showing an episode of Supernatural, and I forget what the other show was. Maybe Grammar. It was like two Supernatural shows at once, back to back, and they both had somebody stepping out on the street and getting hit by a bus. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Oh my God, you almost should be getting paid for that, because they used to happen all the time. There was that shot, and there was a shot where, like, you'd see a happy couple talking in a car, and you're like, I've never seen these people talking in a car before, and then a car's gonna come and hit them from the driver's side. Yeah, there's always that shot where the guy walks, he's kind of cocky, or he has a comment, or the lady, or this, the bitchy character, and they're in the street walking backwards. Like, why are you walking backwards in the street? Because you're about to get hit by a bus. It's like, yep. Almost every time. I almost want to make a movie where we do those shots and not have that happen. Like, oh shit. It's like
yes. a tease of that
What
happening.
would you call it? Like a diet jump scare? Like a unloaded jump scare? Oh.
Or a coitus interruptus
Oh,
scare, I guess.
an
It was
edging, if you will. I'm
yes,
almost there.
I'm
Oh,
edging. It's not happening. You thought it was happening, but it's not.
not getting that release. Yeah. Well, being like primarily a writer for song, you're probably in this unique. You probably have a unique answer, but for however long it took to make it to sell that Final Destination script, and you're making it, and it's a hit, and then you're working on the sequel pretty much right off the bat again. My inquiry is like, what was your first "wow, I made it in Hollywood" moment? Like, was it like after a big meeting, a follow-up meeting, or turning something down, or
Um, I don't think. I don't know if you ever. I don't. That's a funny question
Oh,
because
sorry.
I've been asked before, but it's because I had such an interesting journey
Mm.
with Final Destination because I worked at the studio that made it. I worked at New Line, so
Mm.
I had
Oh, like your day job was there. You were like there.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I literally worked at the studio, so um,
You were Clark
I
Kent before you were Superman there. You're like,
yes. So I actually and I worked out of New York, so I didn't work in the LA office with all the celebrities and stuff like that. So
oh.
during the process of Final Destination, like I was involved as far as like all the rewrites. Bob Shea would send them to me, and I would give notes and things like that. Um, but I after the first movie came out, I stayed at New Line. Um, I developed a story for the sequel, and I sold it to New Line. And then that's finally when my boss at New Line was like, Jeffrey, like we love you, but you're an actual writer now, so go out and you don't need to work. You don't need to work here anymore. Just go out and be a writer.
You're too big
like,
for the New Line britches or something.
So I left New Line, and I was going to stay in New York, but then 9/11 happened, so I finally came out to LA.
Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, by the time I got out to LA, I came out to LA after the second movie was already shooting, so I wasn't here to like take advantage like when the first movie came out to take advantage of like going to all the setting up meetings and all that stuff. My agent was like, I have to kind of reintroduce you to the town now. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So, but I think I think when the log truck memes started going around years after the movie came out.
Yeah, because it came out way before memes, right? We had like the old 90s sweaters and stuff. At least the look of it in the film. Was it 2000 or it wasn't late?
2001.
Okay.
2000. No, wait a minute. The first one came out in 2000, and I think the second one may have come out in 2001, but it may have been 2002.
Yeah, so I saw that kind of that 90s feel. So yeah, but yeah, totally. Huh. And the internet wasn't really big till 03 or 02. I remember when the internet was was what it kind of is today.
Yeah, and it still was a while because I'm working on other projects and just living my life and doing things, and then then I start seeing like even years. It's going to be. It came out in 2000, so it's going to be the 25th anniversary.
Oh yeah, at least it's easy. At least that's easy math, isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe even it was like maybe 5 years ago. It seemed like the log truck meme thing really started to come back full force, and then I started going, holy shit, this is like in the zeitgeist. Like, so that was kind of a cool.
That's really cool, yeah, because it's like
that was a cool thing.
And it's a testament to how well shot it was, because when you see it in like TikTok or Instagram or Reel form, whatever you call that form, it doesn't seem dated. It's like, this is like a 1987 Ghostbusters shot. It's like, no, this could have been shot last year, and it's like, but it's a classic though, but yeah. What's funny? Some good trivia you probably know. I wonder what was the first Final Destination that had a smartphone in it? Was it just the last one or two before it? Maybe it obviously wasn't the first one.
Well, it wasn't the last one because of the twist at the end. For those who haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. Okay. But there's a twist at the end, so which I'm kind of spoiling by saying. But Yeah, I think they had the clunker phones in the first one in the 2000s,
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
is
The
funny
whole,
because
the brick
the
phone
phones are
Nokias.
just, yeah, the phones are just big. um,
Mm.
and the second one, the phones started getting smaller by the second movie, and I think the third one maybe was the. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just trying to visualize. I don't think the third one had the big clunky phones in them. Um,
So
but yeah, that's it.
while you weren't in Hollywood for the first one, what's like your quintessential moment of, since you're, more behind the scenes for the first, well, for the films of those for Final Destination, like, were you ever next to someone talking about it who didn't know who you were, and they were just, eating up this creation of yours, like, oh my God, I love it, I can't wait to see it, or, was there anything like that? Were you around people talking
That,
about Final Destination, or you're like, oh my God, they don't know it's me?
that's that certainly happened after the first film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because everything because again working at the studio, everything was I was looking at everything differently because I know we opened I think at number 3 at the box office that week, but usually during the week the numbers start dropping, and a lot of horror movies will drop off like 50%. After its opening weekend, but our numbers started going up during the week. So the studio was like, oh, this is like a word of mouth kind of hit. So then they started putting more money into it. So it's very interesting when you're behind the scenes because you don't get to necessarily enjoy a movie. This isn't a complaint because I'm so friggin' grateful, but you don't get to enjoy a movie like you would if you just sold the movie to a studio and then didn't hear anything until it came out. And saw with an audience. So I was there while they were test screening it. Like we were one of the first movies to use the audience reactions in the marketing. Like that buzzing, the test screenings, the audience like screams. So they put that in the marketing materials. So it was all very business. Like I was like watching the numbers every day coming in, the box office numbers, and then I know when they decided I already started working on a sequel idea anyway. And then they bought my story, and then they bought a story from Eric Rest and J. Mackie Kruger, who did The Butterfly Effect prior to Final Destination 2, and they've done a lot of stuff since then. And Eric actually came back for Part 5 of Final Destination, the Final Destination, which obviously wasn't the Final Destination.
Yeah.
So like, I sold the story, and I'm executive producer on that one, so I was involved, more upfront creatively on the second one. But I was also in New York, and then 9/11 happened, so then I moved out to LA. So there was a lot of like heavy kind of life stuff going on, real world stuff going on when the movies came out.
If it's not too heavy, where were you during 9/11? Were you like, fairly safe distance, or?
No, I was in Battery Park City, so we were probably like 6 blocks from the World Trade Center.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was a very, very strange. I don't even. Yeah, it's just still a very weird thing to think about and try to process. Thankfully, I didn't personally lose anybody that I know. I definitely had some friends who, some really good friends who lost some friends of theirs, but it was just a horrible time. But the only positive was like that was, one of the only times I think since I've been alive where I really saw, not only our country but the world kind of really come together in a very supportive way, and it was that was the only positive to kind of come out of that while it lasted. But yeah, I was going to stay in New York, but we lived right off the water, so they were bringing rubble down 24/7, like clearing out the rubble and putting it on barges. So finally, my roommate and I were like, we got to go to LA. Time to go to Los Angeles.
So you had to go no matter what, but at least you had something, kind of a bright place to go, like a setup.
Yeah. And I put off. Yeah, I'm very much a creature of habit, so I put off moving out to LA for so long, and career-wise, looking back, like that's probably the only thing I would do different is I would have the minute New Line bought Final Destination, I would have moved out to LA. But again, I learned a long time ago not to live life
Oh, patron just sent, well, minutes ago sent a question. That's pretty interesting. Speaking of Final Destination still, was there ever talk of a Final Destination TV series at all?
Um, yes, and
Hmm.
for some reason, and I have no idea why, I the studio's just not been interested in doing it as a series. I don't know if it's because they don't want to. I don't know why. I don't know if
Hmm.
they don't want to oversaturate the
Yeah.
brand or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I had an idea for a series, and
Hmm.
I know a ton of people had pitched the studio about a series, and a lot of networks had reached out about doing a series, and um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just never.
Without spoiling
The
any
studio
potential
just kind of.
script you might sell in the future, like what would that kind of look like? Because I was at the top of my head when I was just after I asked that, I was thinking like, how would that? Would it be better as a film series? Because then it's like isolated stories, or I mean, would that be like a detective who's like on the case of what's going on with these deaths, or what would the kind of story be with that if it's an ongoing series? Did you have a?
I mean, I think there's
If
so
you
many
can
ways
say,
you could.
yeah.
I think there's yeah, no, I think there's so many ways you could do it. You could
Hmm.
either do it in an anthology kind of thing. I mean,
Hmm. Oh yeah,
my
that's easy.
my my idea was that these premonitions were starting to happen like spread. Kind of like the first movie, like you realized everybody's was alive because of the people cheating death in the first movie. Like I was kind of I haven't looked at it in a while, but my idea was basically like these premonitions were starting to happen more frequently. Um, so and they were investigating the cause behind the premonitions and you know what was causing people to miss their time to die, and I was kind of setting up a bigger kind of supernatural world. But there's so many ways you could go with a series I think like this. But it's probably best, you know, in the long run. I think it's better to not over saturate
Mm-hmm.
with like a TV series and I mean, there was a comic series and there was a book series for a
Oh,
while, but
cool.
yeah, but I think it's probably better um, to not do it, like to have the pauses in there because like the new one, um, from everything that I've read and seen is just going to be fantastic. I mean,
Mm.
John Watts, who did the Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
movies,
Yeah.
the ones with Tom Holland, he came up with the story. Um, the writing team from Scream worked on the script.
Oh wow.
The
Yeah.
directors of Freaks are directing it. So we have like just a super A-list of people working on
Yeah.
it, and they're all passionate about it and love the franchise. And you really want that as opposed to like a studio that's like, let's just keep cranking these out every couple of years
Yeah.
to make a buck.
Yeah. Huh. Very cool. Oh, and I had recently, last episode, in fact, Daniel Roebuck, who was representing law
Oh
enforcement. I
yeah.
believe I know at least two of the Final Destinies he was in. I remember because when I was rewatching. And now you're working in front of the camera now a little more than usual. Like, did you always have an itch for acting, or was it ever
Yeah,
neck
that
and
was
neck?
yeah, acting was actually what I wanted to do originally. Like I
Oh.
came to New York to went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Um, but this was in the early 90s, and non-traditional casting was just not on anybody's radar
Mm.
back then. And because I'm, biracial, it's like,
Mm.
well, you're not black enough for to play the thugs and the criminals, and you're light skinned, so we don't know they just didn't know what to do with me
Mm.
casting wise. It was a much different time in the 90s than it is today. So I was like, well, screw it. I'll just write stuff and be in it. But then I kept getting older and I kept writing about teenagers getting murdered. So I'm like, well, I can't be a teenager anymore. So, but I got to do like cameos in small parts and things, just to scratch that itch. But it's not something I've pursued full time because that's a whole other. To pursue it full time is a whole other you're jumping professions
Mm-hmm.
basically. So I figure I'll keep doing it, just doing my little cameo thing to keep that itch scratched.
Oh, very cool. It's a cool signature though, like Stan Lee or Stephen King being in like things and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do the Stan Lee thing and then maybe at some point I'll do something a little bigger. But that's what's cool about just thinking about the future. It's like I still have stories I want to tell. but I also, and have found some really talented people that I'm working on getting their stories out there, and it's just,
very cool.
yeah. So it's just, yeah, it's an exciting time, but the business is also changing too.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, like, what? I mean, it feels like we're getting, there has to be a new kind of release entity, kind of like what, remember there was that Quibi that was going to pop out, then like the quarantine happened where people needed more long form stuff. It almost seems like attention spans, we need like kind of like a short something. I mean, we're going to still need series and movies, but I almost feel like there needs to be some sort of like, I don't know, TikTok-y, Instagram-y something, because
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like everybody, since there's so many mergers going on all the time now. So you have
oh my God,
all these
yeah.
streamers that started out separately, and then they started merging, and then they're getting bought by studios, and then now it's almost like by the time we get done with all this merging, streaming's going to be back to probably like 3 networks. It's like, oh, you get this bundle.
Yeah, how could it not be? Yeah.
These 10 services, or this bundle that has all these services. So it's just it's a tough time if you're in the business, because a lot of companies are just laying off a bunch of people. Like, so a studio that you've dealt with, a studio that you've dealt with for like 20 years, all of a sudden lays off everybody because they just merged with somebody else, and then it's like, okay, well, now they don't know what they're doing as far as like their new direction.
And not to bash any companies at all, but like it's like I still don't know where HBO is. Like, is it Max? Is HBO gone? I think I was talking with Fred Melamed, and I was like, so is HBO's name gone? But then I see something still on HBO original. You know what I mean? And it's just so funny because when I was a kid and I couldn't even afford cable, HBO was like this golden name. You know what I mean? Like when I saw in the black and white newspaper, like RoboCop's on this Sunday, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And on home box office, that sounds so cool. And now it's like HBO's gone to Max. I'm like, well, wasn't HBO kind of better than Max before? So then now they're both cool, and now they're merged. And like I'm like, Max, how about boom?
Well, they did that because HBO was considered a cable network.
Yeah.
Which meant that they had to kind of follow like all the union rules for actors and directors and writers.
Yeah.
And Max is considered a streamer, so it's basically. I mean, I will say, like, I think it was probably one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in the business, because HBO was like the big.
Yeah, it was kind of like when someone just, when it was to the point where like if someone said like they want a soda and you're saying Coke, but you don't even mean Coke, you mean soda. It was that big. Like HBO was that kind of big of a name. It's like, guys, it's like
so it just changed it. To change it to where it's like
it's just funny.
Cinemax became like Skinemax.
Yeah.
I was like,
and not to bash Cinemax or anything like that, because the best show ever could be on this network or that network or any network. But I mean, like, it's just kind of funny. It's like, huh? It's like,
That's why I say, sometimes they make corporate decisions for reasons that you're just like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and they're all merging. Like late last night, I was watching something, and it was on one of my things that again, I don't want to throw any companies under the bus, but it was one of those streaming sites that has no commercials, and I'm watching it says, and the first thing when I go to the app on my big screen, it says something like, we've changed our thing and now there's limited ads, and it's not gonna limit it. I'm like, whoa, it was the first time I was doing that. I'm like, not yet, I'll see how many ads there are, something like that. And it's just funny, ironically, I think the ones I pay for, because sometimes you just share passwords with people, but and I think I have like most or all the streaming things, but I think the only one or two now that I pay for have ads. And the ones I don't, that I have like, family or friend or ex-girlfriend's password, like, oh, no ads still. Like, okay. It's just
they're all getting a little crazy with like Amazon Prime now, just went up if you don't want ads on it.
Oh, isn't that crazy? Like, well, can you call it Prime still then? Come on. Not to knock them. Don't turn off my Prime, guys. I still get packages. I'm not Temu exclusive. Oh, and I got a note today by one of my texts. I hope I'm getting the name of them right. You had the distinct honor of being our first guest that has the boobs and blood. You're in the boobs and blood Hall of Fame. I hope that's a good thing. I think it's good. Do you remember who else was in your Hall of Fame class? I mean, it's awesome that you're in Hall of Fame.
I think I think that was me that year. Like I don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's like it's one person that year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where's my boobs and blood award? It's a very nice award. It's just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
See, I'm envisioning like a sculpture of breasts with like red blood over it. No, is that not what it looks like? Is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just like a crystal. It was like in 2018. It was a crystal like Boobs and Blood International Film Festival Hall of Fame.
Cool.
And it's like a crystal. Like it's a very nice like crystal, very heavy award.
Very cool.
So yeah. That's very funny. Someday I aspire for a Saturn Award, but I will be quite happy with my Boobs and Blood Award.
Well, Saturn will be right next to it. Yeah, there'll be bookends. What was that for? What was that for? A certain Final Destination, or Tamara, or a different project, or?
No, it was just general contributions to
Oh, cool. Even better, right?
Yeah. So I very much appreciate it. I appreciate anything I get. So, it's funny. In this business, writers are kind of the low person on the totem pole. So, I always love going to conventions and meeting fans and just, I'll take any award they give me. It's like, thank you for acknowledging that writers are important.
Yeah, no, totally. So speaking of conventions, since there's no actual death character, so to speak, in physical form, is there a general consensus on what the best Final Destination kind of costume is? What a certain character wore, or a certain look from a kill or anything, or are they wearing the Final Destination t-shirts from the first film, maybe the poster or something, or?
Yeah, like I haven't seen any I will say I went to a convention in Pikeville, Kentucky this past year. I'm sorry, we started a new year. I'm a little confused, but there was a guy there that makes dolls, like kind of Barbie dolls and he made a Alex Barbie doll for Final Destination and a Tamara Barbie doll. So he made them, and I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
Awesome. Did you have you sign them or what?
No, he made them for me. So, yeah. So I was just, that was the coolest thing I think I've seen. Final Destination related to just having a Alex doll. I should have Devin sign it the next time I see him. Be like, can you sign this doll of you?
Huh. Yeah. What can you divulge about some of your new projects, like Night Candy and New Fear's Eve?
New Fear's Eve is finished filming.
Cool.
And we're in post right now on that. That was an indie project that was shot in Kentucky. I knew the filmmakers are friends of mine, and Felissa Rose, who everyone knows from Sleepaway Camp, among many other things. She's just an amazing woman, and Dave Sheridan, who played Goofy in Scary Movie, and he's got a lot of credits as well. Like we produced it, and again, really supporting indie film, and it's a horror comedy about a killer that strikes a New Year's Eve party, and it definitely leans more into the comedy, but it's very bloody. Like and it's got a cool killer and very, very many. There are many kills. I think there's probably more kills on this movie than any horror movie.
Oh, very cool.
that I've seen, and it's just a lot of fun. And again, I'm very much love to try to help indie filmmakers. At some point, I'll have a production company with like assistants and then all that great stuff where I can really do it proper. But in the meantime, I just try to help people however I can. And so these are filmmakers that they're from Kentucky, but I'd seen some of their work, and I was like, wow, this is cool stuff. And then Felissa called me and was like, hey, those guys are working on a film that I'm going to produce with Dave. Do you want to come on board? And I was like, absolutely. So we helped them work on the script, and we shot it very scrappy indie style in Kentucky. And that's coming out. there's a movie called Psychopomp that I produced with a production company called Camp Lucky in Texas that my friend Autuer wrote and directed. He's a great writer-director. He actually, right out of film school, did the first gay slasher film called Hellbent. Shot on a super shoestring budget, but really, I saw it before I met him, and I thought it was really good. And then after I met him, I was like, no, I really liked it before I met you. Like, so this is like a kind of a I actually haven't really pitched it before, but so I'm trying to.
You're talking about Psychopomp or?
Yeah, Psychopomp.
Yeah, I saw it in the trades. I know that name. Yeah, it's kind of
so
generating.
We have a really cool cast, and horror fans in particular will be excited because Shawnee Smith is in it from the Saw franchise. But we have an amazing cast, and it's just about a family that's fostering a child, and things go horribly awry. And so that's in post-production right now, so I'm excited for that film as well. And I have a couple scripts out there that I'm working on of my own, and then I'm producing there's a project called Sketch that I'm working with Lance Bass's production company and Thomas Hill Films and Colton Tran, who's directed quite a few indie horror films. It's an original project by him and his writing partner, and he's directing it. And
called Sketch, you said?
Right now. Yeah.
What's that about? Yeah. Sketch? Something sketchy or sketch comedy?
That one I cannot tell you.
Oh, okay.
That one I can say nothing about right now because
NDA, baby.
We'll be announcing some stuff on that soon. So, but a lot of the things that as is typical of this business, a lot of the things that I'm excited about, I don't know if they're happening because the companies that they're with are merging.
Yeah.
So it's all right. Well, we'll see.
I think I said in episode 1 or 2 of this show, I was like, I learned in the biz never to even talk about stuff until it's coming out, because it sucks, if you're in something and it just doesn't happen. You're in this great pilot, it's so amazing and inventive and it's part of your soul, and then it's not coming out, and then people are like, oh, hey, whatever happened, Thanksgiving, whatever happened with that Jennifer Garner thing, shut the fuck up, please, or something like a bad divorce or a bad breakup you had, please shut up, or something.
Let's not talk about this anymore. But I feel like it does feel like the industry's going through a lot of changes, but I do feel like a lot of my friends that I'm talking to and a lot of just people that I've met over the years, it does feel like it's going to be a good year for people.
I mean, you have all these things coming out, so you're good. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much you can change that would affect you negatively. So I think you're good to go. And it sounds like you're like me, where you just can't stop creating no matter what. So whatever form presentation of art comes with, you'll be
Yeah. No, it's hard for me to stop. I need to be doing something all the time. So, so whether it's writing or, there's a couple of things I really want to direct, or it's producing. Acting for sure is something I miss. So that's another thing I want to, dip my toe back into.
Very cool.
It's kind of.
Do you have a dream? Do you have a dream role? Do you have a dream role at all, or type of role that you'd want to play? That you're like, man, I always want to play this gritty detective. I haven't had the chance, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly love to play a mutant. In an X-Men movie. That would be awesome.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know which. They could just make up a mutant for me. I don't care.
Do you have a favorite mutant you always want to play or not, or?
Not really. No. I mean, Storm is probably one of my favorite X-Men, but I definitely,
I'd have to twist it a bit, but
I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna play Storm.
Well, you could be like a storm power related character, like Tempest, we'd call you, or something, or you know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get when my hair just shoots out like cowlicks, like Wolverine naturally, and I'm Italian Scottish, so I'm hairy, and people nickname me Wolverine, and remember when Simon Liu, I think I'm saying the name right, like did that hashtag to get cast as Shang-Chi, like Marvel guys. I keep wanting to send I keep wanting to do gym pics with the hashtag like, Marvel, Wolverine, new MCU, right? Hello. I'll nail the audition or something. Like, I'll be 30% cheaper than anyone else. Anyway,
You're like, I will shred the audition. Trust
yeah.
me, I will literally shred it.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, what was Night Candy about? I don't think you told me that one.
Night Candy.
Oh, it says you're in Night Candy. Is that? I mean, let's read that wrong.
Hang on a second. No, you may not have read it wrong. I have to get on my computer.
You're like, I have so many projects, Kevin.
No,
I don't know.
I absolutely don't mean it like that.
Oh, no.
I just mean sometimes people change titles on stuff. I think Night Candy is a project where they want me to do play like a reporter, but I haven't. Let me just check on that one because
I don't want to get in trouble either. If it's,
no. Because it's on IMDb. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do a part in that. But yes.
Oh, cool. More acting, you mean, right? Another cameo, or?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, I'll be doing a small part in that. And
cool.
that's with Brink Stevens, who's like just horror icon from Slumber Party Massacre, and Jeff Dylan Graham, who's a dear friend, and Alyssa Dowling. Yeah, so, okay, that just took me a second to,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that's upcoming that hopefully we'll be shooting sometime this summer.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love it. And there's like a lot of independent horror film going on here in Portland, for example. Like did Guignol Fest and all that. So yeah, I mean, no, yeah, I'm in the same gear house as you for sure.
Well, that's what's cool is like there's kind of a horror. There's like horror communities in almost every.
Yeah,
state.
It connects a lot of people. I remember.
I love it.
Yeah, when I was like a little kid, I wasn't crazy about horror. I loved I'd always say, well, I like good horror films because I almost didn't get like when people like being scared per se. But it's just this creativity, and even like the biggest horror films often have like this independent quality to them. The spirit generally, usually. So it's like it's really cool. Like you can blow up. You might see some brand new independent horror franchise blow up into mainstream with like an all new cast of like unknowns virtually, and like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I love that vibe.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's what I love about the genre is you never know what's going to kind of take off next.
Yeah, I've said to people like, especially in recent years, like film is film. So it's like sometimes I've been on sets with like I've been on some couple student films where they're more professional than like bigger budget things, and you just never know you're gonna get on film sets. There's always just kind of like I said to a couple guests like the war of film, where it's like, sometimes the biggest budget thing to get like this shot is like it's done in the most ghetto way, but it looks beautiful or amazing, or you know what I mean. So
yeah. Well, I think with indie films, you really, because you're definitely not in it for the paycheck, so you have to really love film, and so I think that's why you see a lot of, you can find a lot of gems out there in the indie film world because people really kind of put everything into it. And I think the more you get into like the studio thing, that's where people start worrying about like 4 quadrant films and is this going to reach the widest audience? And that's when you start having to like sanitize things, or people they don't want to deviate from a formula, so then you start, by the 10th sequel, instead of doing something original, they're like, well, let's just do another sequel of this other movie because it's a safer bet financially. And sometimes that can pay off. Like the new Saw, I thought was amazing. Saw X. Yeah. So sometimes that can pay off, but you have to get people doing it for the right reasons. I mean, obviously people want to make money, but I feel like with Saw X, they were like, people love Tobin Bell. Like, let's give him a Tobin Bell frickin' movie. It was so good.
Love Tobin Bell. I was rewatching Alias, that spy show recently, and like Tobin Bell was in it. They had a lot of like great people like that just guest starring, and I was like, holy shit, Tobin Bell. Yeah, he definitely has that beyond gravitas. Jeez.
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to see him and Tony Todd in a movie together.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just the two of them. Oh. That would be fascinating. I'm sure they may have done a movie together now. Somebody will be like, yeah, they've already done a movie together. But yeah, they're both like actors that just have this enormous. Like,
Yeah, that'd be like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to blink in any scenes. You'd be like, oh my god, yeah, it's just like. Huh. Oh, one thing, Patreon brought to my attention last week before we were pitching you. Some longtime fans of your franchise may be surprised to learn that the original title of Final Destination was not Final Destination, but was in fact Flight 180. What made you change the longtime script's title to this iconic now, legacy-forming Final Destination? Like
we called it Flight 180 when I sold it, but I kind of already knew, like,
it's
going to be a franchise. If it's going to be a franchise, we can't.
Oh yeah.
This can't be the final title.
Yeah.
But we couldn't think of a title, and I actually have to give credit because unfortunately we're in a business where a lot of people don't like to give credit where credit's due. But my friend Brett Leitner, who worked with me at New Line, because we were really racking our brains for a title. And he came in one day and he's like, Jeffrey, like, I just got back from a flight, and I was thinking, like, what about Final Destination? Because that's like the last leg of your flight, but it's also like, your final destination is like when you die. And I was like, that's a great idea. Let's pitch it to Bob Shea and the team, and they liked it, thank God. And so we always knew, just from just a marketing standpoint, like we couldn't have it be called Flight 180 when it came out.
Was Flight? Was that the flight number you first came up with? Because you said you came up with it when you were on a flight, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't actually when it.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the flight that I was on, but there was and I think this was probably subconsciously, but there was a Flight 180 from New York to Los Angeles,
like on the board.
At the time. And I just liked that number.
Yeah, and you're doing a 180. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just liked that, and then I remember my boss being like, "Fuck you, Jeffrey," I had to take that flight. But yeah, just from a sales point of view, we knew we couldn't call it that because it would feel like an airplane movie, and then there were more, obviously, which was the hope.
Yeah. Well,
again, Final Destination is a pretty funny title.
Yeah, it's so brilliant because it's so airplane related still.
Well, but it's also then it's like you also set yourself up for jokes when you do a sequel. It's like, well, apparently it wasn't the Final Destination.
Did you hear that a lot from people? Or?
Oh yeah, of course. And if it's a negative review, of course, the first thing is like, well, the last one should have been this one's Final Destination. So you just gotta laugh.
Were there headlines saying Final Destination takes off at the box office when it was blown up?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's always puns on the title when they can do them. So I always give credit to Brett Leitner for coming up with that title because I remember it. I remember it well when he came up to me. He's like, "What about this?"
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's just hope the executives like it, and they did. So Brett will always be the guy who gave the title.
Kudos to him. Oh, and a flight-related segue. How many messages did you receive after that? I want to say, was it Alaska Airlines when that flight panel flew off midair? A lot of people hit you up saying, "Hey, whoa," you know.
Oh yeah. That was a busy day on social media. I got tagged a lot in that. Which I don't mind, as long as nobody, like, so far people have been great. Like, nobody's actually sent me, like, a Final Destination thing where somebody's actually died.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, if there's a crash where somebody actually dies, don't send me that. Like, the movies I love, but, real life tragedies I do not love. I'm like most horror writers that I know. Like, we are big softies about life and people dying. Really disturbs us, so even though we write about it. But yeah, so that one, I definitely, like, all the social media, they were like, "Oh, have you seen this?"
Like, yeah.
Only that 50 times, but thank you. It's still fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's fun.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, it was crazy in worldwide news, but like, it's right above Portland here too. So I was like, "Oh, great!" So like,
You're like, it's getting closer now.
I know. I mean, I guess ironically, technically it should be the safest time to fly right now because they should be quadruple checking, right? I mean, just at this point, I would hope. I don't know. Maybe that's another bane of technology. Everyone's on their phones. Everyone's being zombied into their phones and not doing their final checks and the bolts and the hoy and yeah.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it was. I mean, poor Spirit. It wasn't even Spirit Airlines. It's like Alaska Airlines. You're like, come on, guys. We expect this from no.
That's a joke, yeah.
Poor Spirit. Poor Spirit. I know.
I mean, I will say for Spirit, when I flew, the most recent time I flew was Spirit, ironically enough, and it was just fine. So, flew to Vegas and Spirit.
I have flown out it a couple times. I feel bad for them because they always get joked about.
Always. Oh. We've taken a lot of your time, Jeffrey. Is there any projects from your catalog that people are less aware of you'd want to like shed some light on? Like, hey guys, why not show some love to this streaming or?
Yeah, no, I think one of the movies that I had a lot of fun with and happy with how it turned out is Tamra, which is was my homage to like Carrie.
Oh yeah,
I
the
love
high school
Carrie.
girl, yeah.
I love Carrie, except I was like, oh, I hate that you have to wait till the end of the movie before she starts getting revenge on the bully. So I kind of wanted to do a little homage to that. And the funny thing is, it came out maybe 2 or 3 years before Jennifer's Body, but then people started, because the posters were kind of similar, people started saying, oh, Jeffrey ripped off Jennifer's Body. I'm like, hey, look at the release dates. I mean, our movie came out way before Jennifer's Body. But, that movie's a lot of fun. I mean, the thing is, you learn to, working at a studio, like, you realize that once you sell your project, like, you don't have any say in how it turns out. So a director can come on board that has a different vision than you had when you were writing it. And so much can change from studio notes and director notes. And so I've learned to, because obviously just making a living in the field that you love is like the dream. So so I'm very grateful for everything that's come out, even the stuff that is a lot different than how I imagined it to be. But, Tamra's a lot of fun. If it wasn't called Day of the Dead, if it was just called Zombies Attack, the Day of the Dead remake that Steve Miner did is a fun movie on its own. If it wasn't called Day of the Dead, I'm already saying all of that stuff. And I directed my first film, like super low budget indie film called Don't Look Back, which is more of a thriller than straight up horror, because the nature of it is you don't know if there's a killer, if there's a supernatural force behind what's going on. So I couldn't show any of the actual murders, which there was a part of me that was like, I probably shouldn't do this for my first movie, because people are going to hear Final Destination and they're going to expect blood. And a lot of blood and guts and stuff like that. So, but I especially considering how little money we had, I'm really proud of it. This is a first film, first feature.
Oh, where is that? Is that streaming anywhere?
That's on Tubi. Yeah, that's on Tubi now, or it's on. If people want to spend money, they can go get it on iTunes or any of the services. But it is playing on Tubi.
And what's that one called?
Tamra's on Tubi. Don't Look Back.
Don't Look. Oh yeah, Don't Look Back. Yeah.
Don't Look Back. Yeah, and Tamra's on Tubi as well. Or the last time I.
Yeah. Okay. Because like about a couple weeks ago, when we were first talking to you recently, yeah, I think I probably did a search on Tubi or Roku, what have you. Yeah, Tamra with the red poster, her, and Don't Look, but doesn't have like a crow or something that I want to say on the poster. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. So, well, I'm gonna watch one of those tonight with company, and I urge everyone else to as well. Very cool.
Absolutely. And then, and hopefully there'll be some news about some other cool stuff I'm working on coming up soon. So if anything comes up, I always kind of post about it.
Yeah.
And I also post mostly about, if I friend stuff that's cool that I see coming out and stuff like that. So people can follow me on social media. It's just by Jeffrey A. Reddick on what am I saying? TikTok, Twitter, or X. Sorry, X and Instagram, and So I usually post any news on there, and then also if I have I see horror movies that I love, or, you know, if my friends do something that's cool, I'll tweet about it or post about it. Just, you know, I just love the genre so much. So anytime I see something cool, it's like, oh, you guys should check this movie out.
Yeah, it's kind of like a close-knit community now. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about the genre. It's the, even amongst the filmmakers, but also amongst the fans. And, you know, it is a very great supportive community. So glad to have always been a horror nerd, and, you know, will be a horror nerd till the day I die, which hopefully will be a long, long time from now. But
more the journey, less the destination, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jeffrey, we're taking enough of your time today, but before you go, what's your ultimate goal, would you say, that you haven't accomplished? What's your final destination, if you will?
I mean, my ultimate goal, would be to have my own production company, where I was able to just kind of either not just finance my stuff, but just finance movies that I believe in. So that's kind of what I really want to work on, kind of as the next chapter of my life begins, because I just find I do find a lot of talented people out there, but there's just not much I can do because I don't have the money. So so if I were to have a production company, where I could finance projects and set them up, that's kind of really where I kind of want to start putting my focus. And definitely, I still am interested in acting, so I want to do some more of that. But I still have some scripts that I want to direct for sure. And again, still more stories I want to tell. So part of me just kind of, I ended up during COVID working on animated show, a couple of animated, young adult cartoons on Netflix, and it was amazing. So I always just like to stay open to whatever kind of comes my way, because you never know, what life's going to swing at you. So, the production company is my goal, but it'll be interesting to see where I am in 5 years.
No, definitely. Yeah, I guess I have,
doing something totally different. Who knows?
I have the same goal in production company name and everything, but it's going to be all independence for a while. But it sounds like you're on the road to it for sure. I'm a little surprised you don't have one yet. But you're definitely going to hit that goal. Yeah.
I believe it.
Definitely sooner than later. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And if MCU or the DC universe is listening, cast him as a superhero mutant, or what do they call him in the DC universe? I can't remember. Not mega.
Are they
metahuman?
Right?
Yeah. Or
Impact. Human or immune.
Yeah.
Just give me some weird power.
Well, maybe we should write some sort of horror movie mutant superhero type thing, almost like a Brightburn thing with mutants or something.
I thought about that. But there's such a superhero fatigue right now.
There is, yeah. I'm even kind of feeling. I'm an OG comic nerd who, I used to get a bunch of comics and take them down to Rocco's Pizza, which is not even around anymore in Portland, and read them and stuff. And as before, comics were cool, And now it's kind of
the same way, and it's just but it's like, come on, don't have so many things that we have to watch to keep up with the next movie. We'll have to go watch TV shows and read comics and see this movie because of the end credit is really crucial to this next movie. Just slow down a little bit. Awesome. Well, thank you for. Am I the 25th?
Let's see. You're 23rd, 24th. I gotta double check. Episode,
Anything in my. I'm in my 20s. That's my age.
You're in your 20s, officially.
I'm in my 20s.
You could focus on, if you're on a lie detector, you could focus on that. It'll be the truth, and boom.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks so much again.
Of course, I appreciate having me on, and I hope that the rest of the year, the weather does not get bad there. Yeah,
it's very warm here right now. I'm almost sweating. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, what? No space heater in the studio? This is weird.
Well, hopefully it stays warm, and that was the worst of the snowstorms.
I hope so. With global warming, who the F knows?
I know.
Need a Captain Planet horror film or something, He wants his revenge because we didn't listen. He's killing the teenagers with the rings. All right, man. Well, thanks again so
Well,
much. Yeah, it's been awesome playing phone tag. Feel free to continue
I
back and
know.
forth. It's like-
Absolutely. All right. Well, have a great rest of your weekend. And
all
thanks
right.
to everybody who tuned in to listen. And hopefully we did
Well,
something
yeah.
fun and entertaining.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. A lot of longtime fans and new fans, I'm sure.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your week. Okay.
You too, bro. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
Night. And that was the terrific Jeffrey Reddick. Check out all his classics like the Final Destination series, streaming now, and of course his new works like New Fear's Eve, and more. And we'll be right back after the break.
This episode of That Kev One Show is dedicated to Carl Weathers.
Well, friends, the theater lights have come back on overhead. Please clean up the candy wrappers you snuck in and traverse safely. See you next week, or superfans online at patreon.com/thatkev1show. Good night. This portion of That Kev One Show is supported by Bohemian Dream Gifts, made with organic and natural oils that nourish and hydrate your skin. Man, I don't know if it's the weather outside or the gym that was killing my skin, because my right elbow on the, it itched like the Dickens, like I was becoming like the lizard from Marvel Comics. I think it's that machine where you put your elbow in and do the lifts, for the bicep. But I was itching my skin like crazy during, well, I won't say who because I don't want them associated with rough skin, with one of our guests here in the near future here. But my right elbow was getting ashy and coming up, getting red and irritated. Anyway, I used some of the promotional cookie dough body oil from Bohemian Dream Gifts that they gave us, and my skin, I'm not kidding, came back. I can vouch for that one. The cookie dough oil baby body oil, the cookie dough body oil brought my skin back to life like an Evanescence song. I'm not kidding. My skin is smooth and happy again. 100%. You can buy cookie dough oil on Etsy at the Bohemian Dream Gifts shop. Check out their other stuff as well, but that's one that I swear by now. And as soon as my promotional one runs out, I'm going to order some myself. So go to Etsy and visit the Bohemian Dream Gifts shop today.
What's better than your favorite talk show? Well, maybe homemade delicious food, cold beer, or a drink of your choosing in a comfortable atmosphere. Well, look no further than the Boulevard Tap House for the world-famous fish and chips, seafood, all-around delicious menu of pizza, all kinds of food, wings, steak bites, anything you can imagine when you want to watch the big game or catch some live jazz if you pick the right night. Open 7 days a week. Go to boulevardtaphouse.com right now. I like to go to their Terwilliger Curve location. That's the home location for their not only their fish and chips, and they knew that they always used to give me Caesar chicken salad and wine. They kind of made jokes and made fun of me of that. My favorite food there now might just be the brand new Mark Kevin. That's a margarita pizza named after me. Don't know if they did it because I'm Italian or what, but I had it, and it is delicious and, dare I say, nutritious. Anyway, friends, go on in, have a great time. When you're there, you truly are family. No cap. Enjoy the Boulevard Tap House today.